So, hello everybody and welcome. Yes, welcome back here at BSN Network. Hugo back here, BSN Network. This is the BSN Network podcast here today. It is Thursday, October 7th. Hopefully everybody's having a day so far and a good rest of their day yesterday. It is, in fact, Thursday, October 7th here today, coming off of a couple big nights in sports. Yes, I apologize. I was not able to do a pod yesterday or Tuesday. The New York Yankees, unfortunately, got eliminated from the 2021 playoffs, and the Dodgers won last night against the Cardinals. So the Dodgers move on. The Red Sox move on. Red Sox tonight against the Rays, along with the White Sox, Astros, and then the Dodgers and Brewers and Braves and all those other games I will believe will be played tomorrow. Or I apologize. I think the Braves Brewers gets played tonight. No, White Sox, Astros, Rays, Red Sox tonight. Tomorrow is Braves, Brewers, Dodgers, Giants. So a couple really good series there. We'll get to it all. You also got Thursday Night Football on tonight as well. So you got a lot on tonight. And, I will get to the Yankees as well. A ton of sports to get to. You got the Seahawks on tonight. Seahawks, that's going to be a good game. And I think, a lot depends on that game, depending on what happens to some of these injured players. We hear that Chris Carson's questionable. He's legitimately a game-time decision, something that they're going to work out before the game. If his neck's bothering him, he'll probably be out. If it isn't, he'll be in. He's a legitimate game-time decision. We all know the Rams are coming off of their first loss against the season against Arizona. It's a big game early in the year for the NFC West, especially considering that the Seahawks are, having kind of a little bit of an interesting start to their season. The Rams are obviously off to a hot start despite losing last week to the Cardinals. They still are 3-1. They still are in a very good position in that division. And the Seahawks, on the other hand, they're 2-2. They get a home game against a division rival, an opportunity to, this time last week we were talking about the Seahawks trying to avoid 1-3, and we were talking about the Rams possibly being 4-0. If the Seahawks win tonight, you're talking about both teams being 3-2, and the Seahawks actually having the upper hand because they got that division win against the Rams. So it really is crazy just how the season can turn like that. So a big game tonight, along with some baseball as well, with the two American League divisional series games: White Sox, Astros, and then Red Sox, Rays, and we'll see what happens with all that. Yankees win if the Yankees would have won, on the wild card night, against the Red Sox, they would have been playing tonight against the Rays. That's not the case though. We'll get to the Yankees. We'll get to all that stuff coming up here. And then tomorrow's obviously the NFL game picks and all that good stuff. I'm going to reveal my postseason bracket, kind of semi-postseason bracket. Now that the both wildcard games are done, I'll just tell you what my ALDS predictions, ALCS, NLDS, and then my World Series prediction as well. So a lot to get to today on the podcast. With that, let's get into the topic for today's podcast. Since I was not able to do pod Tuesday or Wednesday, I will be talking about the Yankees recap, their season recap. I'm going to kind of give a entire season recap along with recapping Monday's game. Monday's game was brutal. There's no other way to put it. Everything that could have went wrong for the New York Yankees went wrong. Garrett Cole did not pitch good. Hitting was not good. Everything that could have went wrong for the Yankees. The nightmare situation for the Yankees happened on Monday night, and that's the reason we lost. I mean, there's no other, or Tuesday night rather. That's the reason we lost. There's no other way to put it. The nightmare situation happened. We did not hit. We did not. Well, actually, our bullpen was good. Garrett Cole was not. We did not pitch good. We did not hit. And at the end of the day, we lost 6-2 and our season's over. So I'm going to get to the season, kind of give you a preview of the offseason, what's going to happen with Boone, what's going to happen with Cashman. There's a lot of questions going into this offseason. Are we going to get answers? What's going to happen to Cashman and Boone? My personal opinion on this all is if Boone would to get fired or would to not get his contract renewed, we kind of have to hear soon. They're not just going to, in the middle of November, not just in the middle of December say, "Oh, Boone, you're gone." You're going to have to do it soon because then you're going to have to start the coaching search. So, I would assume if Boone's going to not come back, they're going to make that decision soon, almost like they did with Rojas. They made that decision on Rojas, 1 or 2 days after the season? So season ended on Tuesday. Today, tomorrow, you're going to have to hear something soon because they're not going to wait until January to say, "Hey, you're not coming back, now we got to go hire a manager," because then you're going to have to start the search. So we'll get to all that, get to the Yankees. We'll also get to the MLB playoff update, talk about the games on today along with kind of just the previewing of the upcoming series, and then we'll get to the New York sports update. Not really much going on in the world of New York sports, really nothing at all, with the Yankees and Mets both being done, and the Yankees-Mets both being done, and then basketball starting up very soon, hockey starting up very soon, so we got that going for us, and then we got the Seahawks and Rams tonight, which should be a very good game. A very big game early in the year for the NFC West. We all knew going into the season the NFC West was going to be a strong division, and it is a very strong division so far. You got the only undefeated team in the NFL in there. You got a 3-1 Rams team. You got a good 2-2 Seahawks team. You have a Niners team that's interesting, but they're competitive. Very good division, and a big game tonight in that division. So with all that being said, this is the BSN podcast, and let's get into it. So, yes, the New York Yankees season ended on Tuesday night with a 6-2 loss as the MLB playoffs continue tonight. We had the Red Sox Yankees on Tuesday night, and then we had the Dodgers Cardinals last night, which I'll tell you what, that game was unbelievable. Ended in the ninth inning with a Chris Taylor walk-off. And it's pretty crazy. This just goes to show you how crazy the baseball season can be. You had a 100-win team, or 104-win team playing a wild card game. And, you show up on a wild card game and you have an off day, which is what the Yankees had, your season's over. And I understand everyone's, if you're a Yankee fan, you could say, "Oh, well, wild card's bad," and all that. And I get it. It's one game. Baseball's such a hot, cold sport where you could have one day where you go 0 for 5 with 4 strikeouts, and you could have one day where you go 4 for 4 with 2 doubles, a home run, and a triple, and 5 RBIs. That's just how baseball is. And then you go into a wild card game, and it's one game. You could, that one game, if you're off, your season's over. If you're on, like the Red Sox were, well, you're going to move on. And the Yankees were off on Tuesday night with a loss 6-2. And this Yankee season this year was nothing short of crazy. I should say craziness, wild, kind of just all over the place in a way. The Yankees this season were such a hot, cold baseball team this entire year. You started off the season really poorly, and then you went on a really good stretch, and everyone's like, "All right, this is the New York Yankee team." And then you went on another really bad stretch, and then you were good again, and then bad, and then what? You had that 13-game win streak, and then bad, and then good, and then you finished off the season losing 2 out of 3, and then you laid an absolute dud on Tuesday night against the Red Sox with a 6-2 loss. And that just summed up the New York Yankees season in a nutshell. That summed it up right there, that loss on Tuesday night, 6-2, where the bats didn't come alive, the pitching was terrible. I like Cole and all, I really do, but there's no other way to sugarcoat it. He was awful. He was not good. That was not our ace. That's not him. That was a terrible performance by Garrett Cole. And I don't know what it is with him. I'm not going to sit up here and, give excuses to why maybe he struggled. But Cole's been awful in the entire month of September. And I don't know if he's battling through an injury. I don't know if it's just wear and tear. I don't know if he's just tired. I don't know what it is. But Cole, where he had a great month of July, a great month of August, all the sticky stuff was out the window because he was the Cy Young front runner. And then in the month of August, he had like a 6.15 ERA. And then you go into October, and the one game we have against the Red Sox in Fenway, in Boston, he lays an egg, and so did the New York Yankees. And I said to somebody going into that game, I said, my biggest concern going into that game really wasn't Cole. It really wasn't. I know the Red Sox crushed him, But I said if Cole can give us 5 innings of 3-run ball, I would be satisfied. What my biggest concern was going into the game was if the Yankees bats what they would do. Because remember, on Sunday, they had 4 hits. 3 of those coming in that 9th inning rally and the Judge walk-off to send them to the wild card game. They had 1 hit going into the 9th inning on Sunday against the Rays. They got lucky that they won. They really did. Some excellent pitching that got them that win. And if the pitching wasn't good that day, well, who knows? The Yankees would have had to gone to a tiebreaker. Who knows what would have ever happened? It would have been an absolute mess, especially the way we played on Monday or Tuesday. Just imagine if we had to go to a tiebreaker, and if we would have won the tiebreaker, just imagine having to go play back-to-back, on the road, and then, going back to Fenway and all that. That would have been a mess. And the Yankees got 1 hit on Sunday, and go until the 9th inning where they had 3 hits, and even 4 hits to end the game wasn't good. They had 1 run the entire game, and I said going into the game that my biggest concern was the hitting, and the hitting wasn't good. And I understand that we made good contact. I get that. There was a couple really good. Stanton should have had 3 home runs. If that's at Yankee Stadium, that's a 3 home run night for him. He did have the home run in the 9th inning. That meant absolutely nothing. And he had the 2 green monster shots. The first inning I thought was gone. The second time around I thought was also gone. And then the final one was, it was gone. But as a Yankee fan watching that, you really couldn't celebrate because you were down. It was then 6-2 with 1 out. You knew the season was over either way. So Stan was close to hitting 3. And I'm not going to sit here and be a conspiracy, be a shoulda, coulda, woulda. Because that's kind of what this Yankee season comes down to. What if? What if the Yankees don't blow those 10-15 games? What if Stan hits those? What if those 2 hits that Stan has are home runs? It's a big what if. And, fans are going to play that game this entire offseason, but you can't. Because as simple as that, Yankees just weren't good enough this year. And it was such an odd year with the Yankees, not meaning like with COVID and stuff, but it was such an odd year with the Yankees where we had moments where we looked great, and then we had moments where we looked like we did on Tuesday night, and that's brutal. And changes are going to need to be made this offseason, whether that's front office-wise or whether it's with the lineup. Because the New York Yankees cannot roll this same team out there next year. Because this same team just isn't going to get the job done. And it hasn't gotten the job done, and it didn't get the job done again on Tuesday night. Bats were flat. Pitching was flat. Yankees were flat. Red Sox came in firing on all cylinders. They really started off with the 2-run home run by Xander Bogaerts, and that was it. And don't even get me started. Don't even get me started on the Phil Nevin stuff. What in the world was he thinking sending Judge home? I don't care if it would have been 1st and 3rd and Joey Gallo up with 1 out. You don't send Judge home in that situation. You could say, oh, you like the aggressiveness. No. You got to play safe. You got to play safe that moment. You're down. You're losing in the game 3-0. You got to be safe. I understand there might be a sense of urgency, but okay, I have a question. Would you rather 1st and 3rd 1 out with Gallo up or a runner on 2nd 2 outs with Gallo up? I would rather runner on 1st and 3rd. Because even if Gallo strikes out, okay, it's not the end of the world. You have another guy up. And I understand the lineup's been bad, but you got to have some optimism. You have to have some hope. You don't send Judge home in that situation. And Phil Nevin did. And that's the second time I can recall. I know there's been a couple times this year, but that's been the second time I can recall it really hurt us. Like, sure, there might be some minor mistakes, like maybe he holds somebody up when they could have went, or maybe they went and they got out, but it really didn't, hurt them overall in the game. I understand that. But there's been 2 times this year where Nevin really hurt the Yankees. It was on that night. It was on Tuesday night, obviously with that one. And there was one early in the season. I forget exactly who it was against. But he said in the interview that he wasn't able to sleep that night. And we lost the game because of that. It might have actually been in Fenway. I'm not sure. But I remember we lost the game because he sent somebody home. I don't remember exactly who, but I remember he did it. So that's twice this season where Nevin really messed us up. And yeah, hitting, pitching, all around bad. And, Cole wasn't good. He wasn't. He was terrible. There's no other way to put it. And Yankee fans are going to crush him and destroy him, and rightfully so. He was bad, but, you gotta find a way to fix this team. And We always talk about in sports, whenever a season's over, everyone's like, oh, what's going to happen in the offseason? Our change is going to need to be made. This is a New York Yankee team that changes are going to need to be made. And I know everyone is going to want to, all these Yankee fans are split. Some want Boone and Cashman gone. Some want just Boone. Some just don't really care. I don't really think there's many that don't want any changes. I genuinely think Yankee fans want at least a couple changes, whether that's with the roster or with the, coaching staff or front office or whatever that might be. Personally, this is my whole thing. I want Cashman gone. I've been wanting Cashman out of here for a really long time. Really ever since Cashman fired Girardi, I've been wanting him gone. That's really when I really started to dislike Cashman. Girardi took a young roster, a team that was expected to finish last in the AL East, and took them to an ALCS where they were one game away from making the World Series. And of course, that one game was in Houston. And this is the truth. It was in Houston and they were cheating. The Astros were cheating. And I'm not going to try to, go after that now, but it's the truth. Astros don't cheat. Yankees maybe win a World Series. Cashman then fires Girardi. It makes absolutely no sense. Bring in Boone. Boone has not been bad with the New York Yankees. Like, in terms of, he's had two 100-win seasons. But, he hasn't been able to deliver the big World Series. And that's been the big issue. And that's my whole thing with the Yankees, is we gotta, there's changes that are going to be needed to be made. And my personal opinion with the Yankees is this. I'm not so much on the get rid of Boone, fire him. I understand if we do get rid of him. I get it. But I also understand if we keep him. So I'm kind of 50-50. If we fire Boone, I'm okay with it. If we don't, I'm also kind of in the boat of, okay, obviously the Yankees feel there's something that he can give us. I'm not like 100% on the fire Boone train, get rid of the guy. I'm not. I am not. I've actually backed Boone a lot this year because I think a lot of this is on Cashman. I think the way Cashman built this team is a big issue. It's too home run reliant. It's too power reliant. You see all these teams now with contact and making contact, getting runners on, hitting with runners in scoring position. Yankees don't do that. Look at the Dodgers. They get runners on. They take advantage when they have runners on. When you have a team that's too reliant on the long ball, when you get runners on and you need situational hitting, they don't come through. That's on Cashman. That's not on Boone. Boone got handed this power-heavy lineup, and he's been trying to deal with it. And also, Cashman's making the lineups. So for all those people that hate all the lineups and say, oh, this and that, it's obvious Cashman's making the lineup. So, to be honest, and maybe this could also be used on the side of get rid of Boone, Boone in a way is just there, being there. Like, Boone's not doing much. He's not making the lineups. A lot of those decisions on the bullpen are on him, but some of that stuff's already pre-decided before the game. There are some lineup decisions that they make before the game. A lot of it's run by Cashman, which is why I want Cashman out of here, because the guy has too much power. The guy does too much. Hiring a new coach, you need him to let him do stuff. That's what the Jets are letting Saleh do. They're letting him make his decisions. They're letting him. Douglas is not telling Saleh who to start and who not. Sure, does he maybe chip in and give him advice and give him his thoughts? Yes. But he's not going in there and saying who to start and who's not. Cashman is. And I've always said that Cashman's got to go. So, in my opinion, Cashman's got to go. And if Cashman doesn't go, well, that's going to be extremely frustrating. I've said it this year. I've said it multiple times. I said it at the trade deadline. I said no matter what he does at the trade deadline, I still want him gone. I said the day after we got Rizzo and Gallo, I said I still want Cashman out of here. Because what this guy has done has been awful. And sure, you could say all the good things. We haven't won a World Series in over a decade. Okay? This is a team that the past 4 years was supposed to win a World Series. We didn't. And Cashman's not really done much to improve this roster. It's been the same thing every year. Oh, we believe we have the team. This is the year, and it underachieves every season. That is on the GM, Brian Cashman. He's got to go. I think that's the number one thing. And I don't care if he's been here forever. Okay, it's a business. Cashman's not going to be here for his entire life. He's going to have to get fired eventually. And this was like the big, every year we keep saying it as Yankee fans. This is it. This is it. Got to win this year. You don't, changes are going to be made. We said it last year. I think last year the 60-game season did have something to do with it. a weird year, 60 games, your stars not really being healthy. That had something to do with it. But going into this year, the expectation was to win the World Series. Boone said that in spring training. Fans, that was the expectation. And boy, did we underachieve. We didn't even get to the ALDS. We barely got into the playoffs. That right there should be an eye-opener to that. It's time to move on. You can't keep the same general manager every single year. What have we done in the past 4 years with GM at with Cashman at GM? I was about to say GM at Cashman. At Cashman at GM. What have we done? We've made the playoffs and a bunch of early exits. This team isn't good enough. Changes need to be made. So Cashman first. Like, you know my thoughts on Boone. I think if you fire Cashman, that automatically means Boone's gone because a new GM, if you do go and hire a new GM, he's going to want to bring in his own guy. So Cashman being fired would automatically mean Boone's probably gone anyway because a new GM's going to want to bring in his own guy. A GM's not going to come in here and say, oh, I mean, unless if he's okay with Boone at GM. A GM's going to want to come in here, hire his own people, hire his own manager, that guy hire his own guys. So, yeah. And if the Yankees like Boone so much, offer him a role in a different position. Maybe that's a scouting role or an assistant role or, I don't know, something. You know, an analytical role, something. Do something then, if they really like Boone that much. Steinbrenner's got to step up to the plate and do stuff because it's not what we have going here is not working. And time again, it's just not. And every year we go through the same thing and it's not working and it doesn't work yet again this year. And maybe the Yankees take the approach of this. Sign him to 1-year deal, say this is it. You won a World Series, you're coming back, you lose, you're fired. Period. End of sentence. We don't care if you push the World Series to 7 games. If you don't win the World Series, you're fired. Maybe that's what the Yankees do as well. But I feel like we've been doing that for the past 4 years. World Series. We haven't even gotten to one. So maybe the Yankees take that approach again. But if the Yankees do take that approach, which spirals into my next thing here, we got to make changes to this roster too. Changes need to be made this offseason, people. They need to. There's none of this, oh, let's try again. There's none of that. Changes need to be made. And it starts, I believe one of the big changes the Yankees need to do this offseason, and I understand he's been in the organization since he was 16 years old, and that's all cool and all, and he's had his, Yankee moments. He's had some big hits. I get that. But we've got to change that catcher. Because even watching that game on Tuesday just really made it, even more obvious that the Yankees need to change a catcher. It really did. It just made it like more and more obvious that the Yankees need to move on from Sanchez. And I've thought about Sanchez. I've said it this year. I've said it all along. I don't believe he's the guy. I really don't. People can say what they want. Everyone's got their opinion. I've said this for the longest time now. I really don't believe Sanchez is that good. I think he's definitely overrated. I think a lot of Yankee fans tend to overrate him. I think especially this year because he had that hot stretch in, June where everyone was talking about him. And for a couple weeks there, he really put the team on his back, and I can't take that away from him. But other than that, he's not been good. Yankees need to find a catcher. They need to. Absolutely need to find a catcher. I said it last year. I wish we would have went after Real Muto, threw the bag at him. We didn't, and it's costed us. And this year, you get another opportunity. I like Higgy as well. I get that. I don't really like Sanchez. He's not been good. I like Higgy, though. I do. Higgy's, I think Higgy's story is pretty cool. Guy who's been in the minors for his entire career. Really's been like the third on the roster forever now now coming in and doing all that stuff. But you got to clear out with the catching. And I don't want to hear none of this again this offseason. It's like Groundhog Day with the Yankees. Every year it's the same thing. Oh, we got the team. This is the team. Or I don't want to hear again this offseason when we come around to spring training in February and all that, when pitchers and catchers report saying, Gary something else. This guy fixed his swing. He's going to have a great year. And him bat 204 again. Because this year was another brutal year. He batted 204 and Higgy batted 188. That can't be your catching tandem. And I said this the other day. I was thinking about this. I'm not asking for a Salvador Perez to come in here. Someone to come in here, rock 45 home runs, and be in the MVP race. I'm not asking for that. What I'm asking for, though, is a guy that's going to be really good at defense. Please just be really good at defense. I understand Higgy, and I don't need a guy that's going to be this great hitter. But I don't need them to be like Sanchez batting 204, and I don't want him to be like Higgy batting 188. What I would love, preferably, is Yankee. If you can go out and try to find a guy like this. I know a lot of catchers this offseason. Everyone always says, oh, well, who are you going to get? It's tough to say right now because the season's not over. A lot of catchers have club options. The club has an option on them, whether to take their contract or not. There's a couple good catchers out there that could be in free agency depending on what happens with their contracts. I believe Austin Romine, too, could be a free agent, maybe an under-radar signing there. But all I'm asking for is the Yankees at catcher is, even if it's to go out and get a guy like that can bat 250, 260 at best, play really good defense, that's it. And be a solid guy that's going to stay in the lineup, be healthy, be out there. Because Gary recently has had some issues, staying on the field. Go out there, get a guy that's going to be a solid bat in the lineup. Like I said, I'm not expecting him to bat hit 45 home runs and be in the MVP race like Salvador Perez. But bring some power to the table, 250, 255, 260. Go out and do your job. That's what I'm asking for. And I wrote this the other day. It was at Bleacher Report, and you could post different stuff. And I posted one of the biggest needs for the Yankees this year is a catcher. And everyone's like, oh, well, who are they going to get? Who are they going to get? They missed out on all these guys and all that. I understand we missed out on Realmuto. But I'm not asking for any go out and sign this guy to a massive contract. Even if it's like a 2-year deal to go out and get maybe a flyer on a guy or a solid catcher. It doesn't have to be anyone crazy. Just a guy that can give you some solid innings, go out, have a good year, do his job, stay on the field, play good defense, and when you need him to, get the big hit. Because Higgy and Sanchez just don't do that. They don't. You can say this and that, and oh, this, that, the power, all that. No, they don't. Okay? They don't. And I know Higgy, Cole likes Higgy and all that. That can't be what makes your decision. Sanchez has got to go. Maybe you do keep Higgy as a backup, because he's not a bad backup. Higgy's not a starter. He's not a starter. He's not a guy that can start 150 games for you and give you solid production. He's just not. But he can come off the bench and give you solid production. He can. Every so often you got to take a rest on the IL, whatever. Higgy, I think you can keep. Sanchez has got to go. He's just got to go. He's not the guy. So catcher's a big thing. I think the catcher's our biggest need this offseason. Because year in and year out, it's been the same thing. Catcher's been our biggest weakness. And when your number one starting pitcher doesn't like Sanchez, I think that's got to be an eye-opener. That's got to be an eye-opener to you that, obviously, if you look at the numbers, a lot of guys tend to pitch really well when they pitch to Higgy rather than Sanchez. A lot of guys do. Even Kluber does. You look at his numbers. I mean, he threw the no-hitter again with Higgy. So a lot of guys pitch really well with Higgy, not so much with Sanchez, which is why I think you very well could keep Higgy, but go out and get a true starter, please. None of these catchers are true starters. They aren't. And don't even say, oh, well, we got Rob Brenton. No. Go out and get a catcher. Infield, question mark. I mean, I'm not really someone who says we need a change in the infield. I know everyone wants Story. I know some people want Correa. I think you just got to see how the offseason plays out. I think another need, too, for the Yankees is a center fielder. I mean, you can't possibly roll out this season with Aaron Hicks and Brett Gardner back out there. You just can't. You can't. You can't do it. You got to figure something out. And what do we do with Gallo? That's a question. Because Gallo was awful with the Yankees. There's no other way to put it. And, do you bring him back and maybe hope that he's just better? And maybe now that he's in New York for a full season, gets a full offseason with the Yankees, spring training, all that stuff, maybe he does better with that. I don't know. But he was awful. And there's no other way to put it. Center fielder, you gotta make a decision. I don't know what they're gonna do with Gardner. Fine, bring Gardner back, but please, go out and sign a center fielder. We need to get a center fielder. It's a big issue. I don't want to see Hicks back out there again, which is another reason why I feel like we got to get rid of Cashman, because Cashman loves Hicks. He loves him so much that he puts him out there too much. And, Cashman plays Hicks like he's the greatest center fielder ever. Hicks is awful. Another thing with Hicks is he can't stay healthy. He can't. He just can't. So, yeah, the wrist injury this year, you've had a couple with bleaks with him. He's just not good. He's a terrible player. Another guy I don't want to hear into February, March saying, oh, he's going to have a huge year, and by May he's batting 150 and he's out because he's got to pull the hammy. Another guy that's got to go. Changes need to be made. So center field, catcher are the main. I think you got to go out and get another pitcher. I would love if Severino could be in a starter role again next year. I think that's a good chance. Give him a whole off season where he's really, able to really ramp himself up. Because in relief appearances this year, in the few that he made, he did well. He did everything he could. He's a guy that you get back next season, you got to feel good about that. So, he's a guy to get back. That's why I'm not overly like, get a pitcher, because you do get Sevy back. You still have Cole. You got to hope that Cole, just able to be, be better. I think the biggest thing with Cole was he just was in a slump. I mean, he was in a slump in the month of September. It happens to all pitchers. They were in a slump. That slump happened at the wrong time. Still got Cole, Severino. You got to hope, depending on what happens with Kluber, because I know there's an option on his contract. You maybe bring him back. Maybe the Yankees decide not to bring Kluber back and bring somebody else back. I don't know. Whatever it is, there's always questions with the Yankees at starting pitching because Yankee starting pitching can never seem to get it right. In the end, it always seems like the starting pitching always messes up for the Yankees, and it kind of happened again this year. With Cole not pitching well in the wild card game. And yeah, like I said, I'm not crazy about going out and getting Story or Correa. Not saying I don't want that to happen, but if we don't make that happen, I'm not the end of the world. What I really want to see is a new center fielder and somebody new behind the plate, because I don't want to hear Sanchez is going to have a big year in February again and him come out and bat 204 again and be on the IL 7 times. So that's not what I want to hear. And what we do with Rizzo is going to be interesting. I also think Rizzo will kind of decide, does Rizzo want to be here or does Rizzo want to be somewhere else? We'll see. I mean, Rizzo fits New York. He does. He's a very calm guy. He's level-headed. He's not cocky at all. He's good with the media. He fits New York. So is that a guy that we can bring back? I definitely think the Yankees will make a push to bring Rizzo back. I really do. But I also think if you bring Rizzo back, well, then, if you are going to go out and, if you are going to go out and trade for Correa or Story, whoever that is, Glaber or somebody else will have to be in that deal. Because and maybe somebody else that maybe someone's unexpected, because then you got you would probably just move. You would love to just move if you do decide to go out and get maybe Correa or Story. You would have to move DJ to first, Torres second, somebody at short, and Gio at third. And that's if you don't re-sign Rizzo rather. So we'll see what happens there. But a lot of questions. And there's no other way to put it. There's a lot of questions, and changes need to be made, because I can't again as a fan go into this season, this upcoming year. I can't again, come around February time, March, when you get into spring training. I can't hear that Hicks and Sanchez are going to have big years and then underwhelm again. Changes need to be made to this roster. They need to. And we'll see what the Yankees do with it. And I think that all starts with what we do with the GM and head coach. And here's my thing. There's a lot of people that say, are the Yankees going to maybe take a step back and maybe reset a little bit? Maybe they do that. And I personally wouldn't have any problem with that, because I do feel like the way we are built right now is terrible, with a power-heavy lineup, a home run or nothing team, and not great, overall, just not an overall great team. We're not a good enough baseball team. It's clear. We're not a good enough baseball team. We don't stack up well against teams like the Dodgers, and obviously, the Red Sox are better than us this year, as much as that hurts to say. I mean, we obviously aren't anywhere close to being the best team in the American League, nor the best team in baseball. So maybe the Yankees do decide to take a step back. Maybe next season still stay competitive, but say, hey, it's going to be a little bit of a growing year. Maybe they step back and maybe bring some younger guys in and maybe go from there. Or maybe the Yankees do what they've been doing, go out and sign the big names and just try to win a World Series. We'll see. But a lot of questions And it's going to be I don't even want to say this because I hate it. It's stupid. It's dumb. It's like you want to see your team succeed. But I guess the one positive to your team not winning a World Series or whatever, there's really is no positive to it. It does make for a very entertaining offseason. Because if you win a World Series, you're not going to make many changes. I mean, like if the Dodgers win a World Series, Dave Roberts isn't going to be on the hot seat. Same thing for any of the other managers. Unless if you pull a Gerard, or unless you pull, Cashman and fire someone after the ALCS, which is just straight up stupid. But either way, that's why. So if you win a World Series, not many questions. But if you don't, and like the Mets, the Mets are going to have to find a new GM. They're going to find a new coach. So a lot of questions around them. Do they go on maybe sign any other big names? What do they do? Same thing with the Yankees now. What's with our coach and GM, and what are we going to do in the offseason? So, even though we don't succeed in the playoffs, there is always... I guess you can always, that old saying, there's always some, out of it, there's always a positive out of negative. So this will be an interesting offseason. I think this is going to be an offseason of the Yankees needing to do stuff. And even if the Yankees don't do anything, which I'm fully, preparing for, because that seems like it is every year, the Yankees don't do anything. If the Yankees decide not to do much and they kind of keep the same team and believe they can, this is it, then there will be a lot of offseason with a lot of rumors and a lot of talking and nothing happening. But you gotta, I want changes to be made, and I talked about the changes I want to be made. I want them to make, and I think they're changes that majority of Yankee fans want to see made, because obviously what we have rolling here isn't working. So it's just frustrating because, it's just one of these things where it's like us fans are seeing it. Like, are the Yankees not seeing this? Like, this power or bust isn't working. It's just not working. Like, there's changes that need to be made. They need to step up to the plate. I don't care if Cashman's been here for 60 years. You need to do something about it. He's not going to be here forever. Might as well get rid of him now, because we need to change. And change is needed with the New York Yankees. So that's that for the Yankees. They finished the year 92-70, and they lost in the wild card game. Like I said, very up and down year. It really was. It was a very, up and down year. It was, a season where, we just weren't good enough. And another tough year because, yet again, Yankees struggle. Your leaders in the regular season this season, but they're just going to lead them anyway. Batting average was Judge 287. Home runs was Judge 39. RBIs was Judge 98. On base percentage was Judge 373. Hits was LeMahieu 160. And your pitching was Cole 16 wins, led the team. ERA 3.23 led the team. Strikeouts 243 led the team. Saves Chapman led the team with 30, and holds Chad Green led the team with 18. Judge led the team in batting average 287. One of the positives this year, I would say, is Judge and Stan played a lot of games together. Judge played 148 games this season. Stan played 140. So Judge only missed 14 games, which was COVID, and Stan only missed 20 games. So really, really positive. Going into this season, that was the big thing. Can Judge and Stan stay healthy? And they did. And that was great to see. So that is a positive. But other than that, that is really it. 288 combined games played between Judge and Stan, which is really, really great to see. And we all know how Stan did this season. We all know how Judge did. I think by the end of the year, both will probably end up top 10 at least in MVP voting, top 15 probably. I think Stan's got to be at least somewhere near there, especially with the way he's been playing. So, but yeah, I mean, it was definitely a season that had some highs. There was some good moments, but had some lows, and Tuesday night kind of capped it all off with a tough loss. So definitely a very big offseason ahead, an offseason with a lot of questions, and we'll see what happens. We'll see how it all plays out. Alrighty, coming up next here, I want to get into the MLB playoff update. I know I kind of just talked about the Yankees. I'll talk more about, the rest of the league and the games tonight, and give you a little bit of my playoff bracket. I know both wildcard games are already done. I went 1-1. I got the AL prediction wrong. I predicted the Yankees to win, didn't get right, but I did get the NL prediction right. I predicted Dodgers. So right now I'm kind of like 1-1 with my bracket, and I'll reveal the rest to you coming up next. I will get to the MLB playoff update coming up next. Alrighty, welcome you back here. As I just mentioned, MLB playoffs are in full swing. The New York Yankees obviously got eliminated. The Dodgers won last night 3-1 against the Cardinals, and today we got the Astros, White Sox, and the Red Sox, Rays. So that those should be two very good games. I made my bracket. I understand I was not able to do a pod on Tuesday and Wednesday, so I was kind of supposed to do it. I always do a bracket for every league, NHL, NBA, NFL, and MLB. Before every playoff, I always do my power rankings as well. Before every season, before every playoff, I'll do my bracket. So this is kind of a little bit of an odd one, but I did a bracket anyway. I still have it. Right now, I've gotten one prediction right, one wrong. My prediction on the Yankees-Red Sox game was wrong. Deep down inside, I think we all knew it was going to not be an easy game, but my kind of Yankee fandom kind of was a little bit in the way. You got to take the Yankees there. I did have the Yankees losing against the Rays. I will tell you that. I said it. Even if I said it on the day of the Yankee game. I said I'm pumped up for the game. I'm excited. But if the Yankees beat the Red Sox, I think we all knew they were going to get eliminated by the Rays anyway. And then I have the Astros beating the White Sox. I have that. So I have the Rays, Astros in the ALCS, and I have the Rays moving on to the World Series. I have the Cardinals, Dodgers. I had the Dodgers winning. They did win. Then I have the Giants, Dodgers. I have Dodgers moving on. Braves, Brewers. I have Braves moving on. I know a lot of people will disagree with me there. And then I have Dodgers, Braves. I got Dodgers moving on. Dodgers, Rays in the World Series. I think it's going to happen again. I just think they're the two best teams in baseball. I really do. I don't really see who's going to stop either of those teams. Maybe the Astros. That's very likely, but I just think the Rays, home field advantage, they're just a very good team. And I think the Dodgers will win the World Series. And I think I predict that almost every year, but that's because it's the most obvious pick because the Dodgers, I believe, are the most talented and the best baseball team in the league. I'm not fully buying into this whole Giants stuff. I'm not. And nothing against the Giants. Nothing against them. But I think when you match the two up, I understand one won the NL West and one didn't. I understand that. When it comes down to it, the better regular season record went to the Giants, and the Giants won 107 games. Dodgers won 106. So I understand. At the end of the day, the Giants won the NL West, and the Dodgers had to play a wild card game, which they won last night. I still believe the Dodgers are the better team, and I still believe that the Dodgers are the most talented team in baseball. And as I mentioned earlier with the Yankees and just the whole situation around their roster, right? When you make a roster for baseball, the Yankees are surrounded by, they're a power team. They're a team that hits for power, and they're a team that's very boom or bust. There'll be nights where they'll put up 12 runs, and there'll be nights where they put up 3 hits and no runs, and they lose 5-0. That's the New York Yankees for you, though. The Dodgers, on the other hand, every night it seems like they're bombing balls out of the ballpark, and that's why they won 106 games. And one of the things I really like about the Dodgers, and I've said so many times, is the Dodgers are a very good and balanced lineup. They do a lot of good things when it comes with their lineup, right? They do a lot of really, really good things. They hit with runners in scoring position. They get on base. When they get on base, they're scoring those runs. They're a very deep lineup. Chris Taylor, a lot of really good guys in that lineup that maybe aren't the biggest names in the world, but they step up and they make big plays. Look, Betts, Seager, Turner, Trey Turner, Justin Turner, Will Smith, Pollock, Beatty. Bellinger has struggled this year, although he had a hit yesterday. But all those guys, their lineup is so deep. And when you look at their lineup, it really is. Even coming off the bench, Gavin Lux has had a couple moments this year. We all know Albert Pujols, the veteran, can hit for some power. There's such a deep lineup. I think it's pretty obvious that they're the best team. And you got to look at the Yankees going into this offseason. You got to look at the Dodgers, for example. The Dodgers have so many deep players. They have so many good players. They have such a deep lineup. They've got good depth. That's why they're so hard to bring down. Because it's oh, great, we got a 2-run lead. Yeah, now you got the 4-5, you got the 3-4-5 hitters coming up for the Dodgers, and that's Trey Turner, Justin Turner, and Will Smith. That's not a good situation. We saw it last year, where at the end of the day, Dodgers offense prevailed, and it did, and I think it's going to do it again. And last night it did, because last night the Dodgers offense came together, and tell you what, to start that game, that offense wasn't great. It was 1-0 for the majority of it there a little bit, and then the Dodgers scored a run, and then they really topped it off in the ninth inning with the Chris Taylor walk-off. So this is a good Dodgers team. The Astros, another team too. Very good A lot of good offensive teams this year. A lot of really good offensive teams. I mean, even the Red Sox. We just saw them, Tuesday night. They can cause damage. Even the Red Sox are a very, a solid team. A lot of really good offenses. You look at the White Sox, another team. Tam Anderson, Jose Abreu, Yohan Moncada. A lot of guys on that roster too. Eloy Jimenez. Look at that bullpen, that starting rotation. I've said this many times. White Sox, you can make the argument, are one of the most well-rounded baseball teams in the league. Got the starting pitching. They got the bullpen. They've got the bats. They've got it all. There's a lot of other teams, right? I can name through. Yankees. There's a lot of questions with the Yankees, actually. Their bats are bullpen's pitching's they're Red Sox. Hitting's good. Pitching's good. Bullpen's not great. You go to the Astros. Their hitting's very good. Their pitching's good. Their bullpen's solid. Astros are also an all-around good team. White Sox, same thing. Rays, on the other hand, Rays get it done in an interesting way. Because the Rays, if you look at their numbers when it comes to, the Rays, like the Rays are similar to the Yankees. They're a very boomer-bust lineup. But the one thing with the Rays is they do their job with runners in scoring position. When they get runners on, the Rays score. And that's why their boomer-bust lineup isn't really always boomer-bust. Some nights it is. We saw it against the Yankees on Sunday when they got shut out. Some nights the Rays are boomer-bust. But when the Rays get runners in scoring position, they take advantage. That's one of the differences. Their pitching's very good. Their bullpen's good as well. Starting pitching's been very good. I went into the year finicky on it. It's been very good. You go to the NL. Dodgers all around a very good team. I think maybe the only weakness for the Dodgers maybe as you get deep into that bullpen. But Dodgers are also a very well-rounded team. Cardinals, they got eliminated. They were kind of a little bit iffy. Their pitching, I think, could have became maybe a little bit of an issue. Their hitting was good. Bullpen was good. Pitching maybe could have became a little bit of an issue. You go to the Giants. Giants are a team that hitting's good, bullpen's good, pitching's solid. They're all around pretty good team. Dodgers, just read about them. You got the Braves. Braves are a good team. One thing with the Braves, though, is their bullpen's an issue. You got good hitting. Despite without Acuna, they've been good. They got good hitting. They've got good pitching. Take that back. Braves really good hitting. Their pitching and their hitting their pitching and their bullpen's iffy. And their pitching and their bullpen's been iffy. But that's been how the Braves have gone for a long time now. Brewers, on the other hand, I think out of all these teams, have the best pitching. I mean, they have probably the best starting rotation in baseball. And their bullpen, I don't know if it's as good as the White Sox, but their bullpen's very good. Hitting's good as well. Brewers are good. The only reason I have the Braves winning that series, I don't really know the reasoning. I just think the Braves are going to win. That might sound stupid, but when I was doing the bracket, right, I spent time, but when I was doing the bracket, I was thinking when I was doing the bracket, I was like, interesting. I was like, I think the Braves are going to win, but I had no clue why. I had no clue why they had I had no clue why I picked them. I picked them, but I don't really have much reasoning behind it. Because on paper, the Brewers are a better team. I don't know, I picked them. I just like their lineup a lot. I like Freddie Freeman. I like Ozzie Albies. I think at the end of the day, when it comes down to it, I think their lineup will be able to do just enough against that Brewers pitching. And I think hopefully their pitching does just enough. That's really it. What it comes down to is this, though. I mean, I think the Dodgers are just too much of an overpowering team in the West. In the NL. I think it's just obvious. I think they're too much of an overpowering team. I think they do a lot of, they're just a team that does a lot of really, a team that does hits well, pitches well, relieves well. Just a team that's very good. And we saw it last year, and we're seeing it again this year. They're like the Chiefs of baseball. Every year they're good. It's the same thing. I'm not going to sit here and give you an hour of why I think the Dodgers are going to win the World Series. Their play, their roster speaks for itself. Look at the way they play. Look at their roster. Look at their hitting. Look at their pitching. They look at their managing. They are a good team. They are a well-rounded team. They're one of the most well-rounded teams I think we've ever seen recently here, where they're overall good. Because there's teams out there that hit really good, but their pitching stinks. Pitching might be really good, but their hitting stinks. Dodgers are all around pitching, hitting, fielding, all around. I think the best team in baseball, and that's why I think they win. I know it's rare to get the same World Series matchup 2 years in a row, but I mean, look at the way the Rays and Red Sox or Rays and Braves have won or have done. They've done really well, or Dodgers rather. They've done really well. So we'll see. And then who knows? Maybe the Braves beat the Rays, and maybe the Braves move on, but Red Sox rather beat the Rays and move on and beat, I don't know, the White Sox win, and it's the White Sox, Red Sox, and the Sox, they win, and the Red Sox win. Who knows? Anything could happen, but it's gonna be fun. And today we got the Astros, White Sox, and the Red Sox, Rays. I'll give Astros the win, and I will give Rays the win, as those are my two division winners. So I'll start off with the win for each of those respective teams. Also tonight we got some football on. So with all this baseball going on, we also got football on tonight. And we got the Rams and the Seahawks. So the Rams come in this game 3-1. Seahawks come in this game 2-2. Rams are 2-point favorites. The over/under is set at 53.5. This game comes on today, 8:20 p.m. Eastern Time on Fox. I'm going to give the Rams the win. I know they're on the road. I know they're in Seattle, but a couple injuries with Seattle really could cost them. I'm going to give the Rams the win in this game. And 82% of people think the Rams will win as well. Now, this season, I'll give you my game picks. This season, I'm 42-22 overall in my game picks. First, week 1, I went 7-9. Week 2, I went 11-5. Week 3, went 12-4. Week 4 also went 12-4. So, week 5 this week, so far, I'm 0-0. I've yet to pick a game, but this season, obviously, I picked the Rams, so we'll see how that plays out. This season, I'm 4-0 on Thursday night games. I've gone every Thursday night game right, so I hope that streak continues tonight. Go for 5-0 on Thursday night games. So, yeah, and I'm 42-22 overall. So, I don't really know what that is, what I'm on pace for then. Whether that's, I don't know. I mean, I guess you got to add it all up and divide it or whatever, how many wins I'm on pace on, but if I'm pace for. But I could compare. I'll compare. So, in last year I went 189 and 90 overall. And week 1 I went 10-6. Week 2 I went 13-3. Week 3 I went 11-5. Week 4 I went 11-4. Week 5 went 9-5. So that was last year. So this year it's a little different. 7-9, 11-5, 12-4, 12-4, 0-0. So I guess it's about even. I'm 20 games above 500 on the picks, and we got the game going tonight. So that'll be pretty good. Yeah, my game picks have always done pretty well. And I've never really sunk. I've never had a season where I've completely sunk, where I just can't get any picks right. That's why week 1 was odd for me. I went 7-9 week 1, although there was a lot of really good upsets week 1. But we'll see. One of the big things that I've been deciding on this game is Chris Carson. And if you're a fantasy owner like me, and you got Chris Carson in your lineup and you don't know what to do, well, I'm in the same boat as you. Right now, I am, for my non-PPR league, I got Chris Carson in. Injury update I got in my non-PPR league. I got an injury update. So I got Antonio Gibson's questionable. Gibson shin was a limited participant Thursday. Nika Jabavala of the Washington Post reports. So that's the update on him. Amari Cooper also questionable. Cooper hamstring was limited at practice Thursday. David Hellman of the Cowboys official site reports. And then the big one, Chris Carson. The new report just came out. They really want us to really wait for this game. So this is it. Carson neck is 50-50 to suit up for Thursday's game against the Rams. Brady Henderson of ESPN.com reports. So this is a true game time decision. This is something that's going to come down to 5, 10, 15 minutes before the game. whether or not he will play. And there is something in the back of my mind that I'm thinking that even if he does play, you wonder if he's not going to get as many snaps, which is my concern. Which is why I kind of feel like in a way it might just be better off if he doesn't play. Because if he does play and he's not 100%, you would think that maybe his snaps go down. He's not going to get as many opportunities. So we'll see. I'm hoping that if he does play, he's going to play. Because there has been a time where guys have been active, but they don't play, or they play minimal, but they're out there. Same thing here with Chris Carson. Like, if he's going to play, I want him to play. I don't want it to turn into a situation where he's out there, but he's limited and he's not playing much. So we'll see. It's a true 50-50, but we'll find out. I also made a roster move this week. So I added Patriots defense, dropped Saints D. I also added, I dropped Myles Gaskin and added Dawson Knox. So I'm actually benching Robert Tonyan this week, and I'm going to put in Dawson Knox. I just feel like he's the better option. Tonyan's really been awful, so I'm putting in Knox. And in my other league, I've also got Chris Carson going tonight as well. But this is it. I got Chris Carson's questionable, just read about him, and Amari Cooper's questionable, just read about him as well. Bench also, Curtis Samuel's questionable. Samuel Groin didn't practice Thursday. Niki Jabalva Vala of the Washington Post report. So we'll see how that all goes. But yeah, and also in this league, I made a roster move as well. I added Raiders defense, drop Saints D. So we'll see. And I'm thinking about, depending on how all the injuries play out, I'm thinking about dropping Tonyan as well, or not dropping him, but picking somebody else up. Tight end. Really looking at Dalton Schultz. That will all depend on how the injuries and all that stuff plays out there. So we'll see there what happens with that. But if anything, I'll probably drop Trey Sermon and pick up Dalton Schultz and put him in over Tonyan, because Tonyan's been awful. He has been. And Dalton Schultz has actually been good this year. Actually really good this season. He had 10 points, 3 points, 26 points, 17 points. So he's had 3 touchdowns in the last 2 weeks. He's done really well this season, and he's up in 45.7% of leagues. And you look at Tonyan's stats this season, minus 11.6% of leagues, 2 points, 14 points, 1.2 point. So he's done nothing this year. So you got to hope that if I do pick up Dalton Schultz, we'll be in a position to see how it all goes. But there's another thing, too, is if Carson's out, McKissick would be my next guy up probably. But then what do I do with Trey Sermon? If I drop him, now I have McKissick, and the chance, McKissick won't get injured, but let's just say Carson's out for an extended period of time, and whatever. So you kind of have to see how the injuries play out, and we'll see what all happens there. But, Tonyan does have a favorable matchup. He's going against Cincinnati. Cincinnati's defense has been good this season, but it's nothing crazy. So I guess it's a favorable matchup, but, you could say that about a lot of guys. And, not even just favorable matchups. Tonyan had a lot of good games last season against a lot of good teams. So I don't want to sit here and make that excuse of always played some good defenses like the Steelers last week. No, I'm not going to use that as an excuse. He's got to be better. He played against the Lions. They're a good team, but, they're not a good team. They're a competitive team, but they're not any lockdown defense by any means at all. So that's what I think. I picked up Dawson Knox in my other league, definitely starting him. And in my one league, still got to see, PPR league, still got to see what I'm doing with the other stuff. And like I said, tight ends, one thing that tight ends, especially in PPR league, receptions mean a lot. Even if they get 5 catches for 60 yards, that's 11 points. That's good. Even if they get 8 catches for 30 yards, that's 11 points right there. It doesn't matter. They don't need to put up any of these 140, Travis Kelce yards. All I'm looking for is guys to get catches. Tonyan's not getting catches. He's getting about 1-2 catches a game for 8-9 yards. That's it. It's not going to get the job done. So that's kind of been my mindset with Tonyan. I put him likely to trade in both leagues. I've had some discussions with some of the other people in my leagues about trading him. It's been very mild, though. It hasn't been any, deep discussions on trading. I did get offered one deal for Robbie Anderson. I accepted it, but then it kind of backed out afterwards. but I would trade Tunyon right now for almost anything. I don't want to drop him in the chance that he starts to really play well, because I still feel like that might be likely. And I don't want to drop him and somebody else pick him up and him sit on their bench or whatever, or him be great, him start to play really well. Which is why I think if I do pick up Schultz and Schultz is playing really well, even if Tunyon picks it up a little bit, but Schultz is continuing to play well, I might still trade Tunyon if Schultz is there. So we'll see how everything goes. But yeah, I'm a 1-3 right now, so I'm got to make some changes to the roster. But yeah, that'll do it for the podcast here today. Hopefully you all enjoyed it. As always, I will see you all back here tomorrow. Hope you enjoyed it, and thanks for watching.